We're on week 7 of a 20-week cut. I'm aiming to lose 40 pounds. 20 weeks, 40 pounds. That's 2 pounds per week that we're shooting to lose. Good morning. Today is upper body day 2 of week 7. It's been a while since I've done an upper body day 2. This is Fridays for me usually. I've just been busy. The way that I have my program is that Monday and Tuesday are push-pull, Wednesday is upper body, Thursday is legs, and then if I get to a Friday workout, great. And today we finally do. So what we have, we're using the easy bar today. We've got easy bar upright rows, easy bar curls, easy bar skull crushers. And then to top it off, we'll do the McGill 3 for our core. You'll notice the easy bar stacking, and that's really just for convenience. I'm just using one piece of equipment the entire workout. And all we have to do is switch the weight a little bit. So the goal, most of my workouts are about an hour. The goal for this one is to be under an hour. And again, it's just because usually Fridays are just, there's some stuff going on, or like at times I'll want to get the workout done early so I can go work remotely from a coffee shop for the day, so I don't want to be getting to the coffee shop super late. But yeah, we'll get the weights started, I'll get them put on, and we'll start the warm-up. And what I'm actually going to do for a warm-up today is a little bit different. Since we don't have any big compound lifts, and these are all accessory stuff, I don't want to load up my easy bar and go straight into it, so I'm just going to use my dumbbells, warm up my shoulders, my biceps and triceps a little bit, and I'll just do that with laterals. We'll do some front extensions and some curls. I haven't been counting, but I'm shooting for like 10 to 12. The goal here is not to work it super hard, but we're just trying to get the blood flowing into the muscles, trying to get a little bit of a sweat going. Just so that when we come into our lifts, we don't tweak something. The end of a good warm-up, I had a track coach in college who said that it's a warm-up is a good warm-up if it makes you sweat. And I always was confused about that because I thought I was just like trying to keep it light and just get loosey-goosey and stuff, but really you should be moving enough to where you start to sweat. That's how you know your body is warmed up enough. I don't know if that's a scientific fact, but I've tried to kind of live by that, and it makes sense. Also, I tend to sweat a little bit more than the average person anyway, so it's pretty easy. Like, I'm already sweating. I only did one thing. We'll just do that one more time, and then we'll get started with the easy bar. We're starting with the upright row. Yeah, I'm excited to actually get to a Friday workout. It just hasn't happened in the past few weeks. And it's a great thing. It doesn't hurt to do it. In fact, it's going to help, right? I'm getting more resistance training. I'm getting more muscle stimulus, more calories burned for the week. It's probably especially important this week because it's been so cold and snowy. I haven't really gotten out to walk much, so I'm missing out on some calories I'd normally be burning. But it's also not the end of the world if you don't get that in. I actually, for a long time, only did Monday, Tuesday, Thursday workouts. I took Wednesday and Fridays off since those are like my upper body, like auxiliary days. And I don't really think I lost much muscle. I wasn't in a calorie deficit, but you can definitely build a physique and maintain it or cut or whatever. I think 3 days is a good minimum. 2 days, I think it'd be hard. I think you'd have to have longer workouts to get the volume you need, but 3 days, it's totally doable if you're a busy person. My workout right now is really mostly just 4 days. And then sometimes I get a 5th day in. You don't have to work out 6 days a week for 2 hours. Some people might fight me on that. If you are a high-level bodybuilder, yes, you probably need to do that. But if you're just an average person trying to get in almost super shredded shape, just mildly jacked, then yeah, 3 days, 4 days is probably fine. All right, one more warm up. And I'm not going, I think I just have 15s. Like, it's not a ton of weight on these, especially for shoulders. That wouldn't be. My working set for side lateral raises is like 25 anyway. It's not like super crazy amount. So 15s is plenty. And I can definitely feel the muscles starting to light up. Sweat is coming on. I think we're in good shape. Good shape to lose the sweater and start with our upright rows. When we get that weight put on, we'll do that. All right, set 1, easy bar upright rows. We're doing 70 pounds, I think is what this is. I honestly don't remember exactly what this easy bar weighs. I think it's 20 pounds though. So we'll just go with that. And it felt like a good stimulus, which is all that matters. This weight doesn't really matter. Did 10, we could probably do more. Try and get 11 or 12. I am trying to stick to that 8 to 12 rep range for these. Everything we're doing shoulders, we're doing biceps, and we're doing triceps. 8 to 12 is going to be the rep range we're looking for. And we are looking to try and we're not trying to blow ourselves out of the water. We're trying to get a good stimulus. We are still looking for 3 hard sets. So that first one is maybe pushing. I probably had 3 or more reps in reserve. So I'm not going to leave it quite so much on the table this next time. If you're just joining us, we're on week 7. Basically wrapping up the lifting for week 7 of a 20-week cut, and where I'm aiming to lose 20 pounds. No, 40 pounds. 20 weeks, 40 pounds. That's 2 pounds per week that we're shooting to lose. Before I started, I weighed in around 210. In the first week of cutting, my average was 208. So I figure I'm trying to get from basically 210 to 170, plus or minus 2 pounds is fine. So that's where that 2 pounds came from when I was figuring out, how much to cut, what, as far as time period and how much weight and stuff like that. It was really all just based off of, I found out I have a work trip in Florida in March, and I thought, okay, I'll do a vacation after that. That's a good goal of getting down to a good body fat percentage weight. It was mid-October when I found out. Did the math. I was like, oh, that's about 20 weeks. I'm at 210. Last time I was at 170, that felt and looked really good. That's 40 pounds. That's 20 weeks. That's on the aggressive side, but it's doable. And so that's how I made my decision. I've done, my past few cuts have been less aggressive. Like I've done just like the 500 calorie deficit to try and lose a pound a week. I find that it's harder for me to commit to that. If you've seen it in my other videos, when I talk about calories, I build in like a buffer, knowing that I want to hit this like average for the week. It's just for some reason on a less aggressive cut, it's harder for me to stick to the calories. I like feel like my self-discipline is a little bit lacking, and maybe it could also be because I don't have a really great goal, like a tangible goal like this Florida trip. But I don't know. I also think it's hard because if you're only losing half a pound a week, sometimes it doesn't really show up on the scale. So especially day to day, it doesn't show up day to day, right? If you're losing half a pound a week, your week is like mostly the same weight, probably some that are higher, some that are a little lower. So I don't know that so far, these first 6 or 7 weeks, it's been encouraging to be able to see the scale move. And that's not all it's about, right? You should be able to see what your body's going through over long periods of time. Certainly cutting at half a pound a week will help you maintain more muscle mass. So there are definitely the pros to doing that approach. I get why people do it, why I've tried to do it before. But so far on this cut, this pace has felt good for me. But we'll see. We're only on week 7. We've got over halfway to go. We'll see where I am in a couple of weeks when we're halfway. All right, let's get one more. We got 2 more of these, but upright row. Yeah, and 12 felt closer to a hard set, so we will go up in weight. But we'll know that we're doing a little bit better with that 12 there. Add weight on this last one. Maybe you're thinking about starting to cut, starting to lose weight, trying to cut body fat and increase muscle mass. And you're like, wondering where you start. You could boil it down to like 2 things, maybe like 3. And I'll explain. The first is your macronutrients and calories. You want to make sure that you know what your maintenance calories are. Maintenance calories is another way of saying your total daily energy expenditure, based off of your height, weight, sex, body composition. What does it take to not gain any weight, not lose any weight? And then you want to shoot for less calories than that over the week. So you likely need to be tracking what you eat. It's the easiest way to do it. You can do like a low carb diet or something like that, and you'll lose weight without tracking your calories. But the reason that you're losing weight is because you're eating less calories. I find that tracking is the most consistent, predictable, and honestly the easiest way to maintain and to keep that lifestyle. To lose weight, calorie deficit, resistance train. Yes, you can lose weight by only doing like cardio, like running or other rowing, walking. You can do that. If you want to also build muscle or maintain your muscle while losing weight in a calorie deficit, you need to be lifting weights. And I said earlier, that can be just 3 days a week. It can be 2 days a week if you can do longer workouts. But really that 3 to 5 days a week I think is the ideal. And you want to be progressively overloading. Calorie deficit, progressive overload, resistance training. And I think the third pillar is, we would call it recovery. And the big one that sticks out to me is sleep. Making sure you're getting enough sleep at night. None of this, I'm a macho man, I need 3 hours of sleep, I'm gaming or whatever. If you want to try and fit both lifestyles of a night owl and composing your body, it's gonna be a struggle. I don't know what the actual minimum amount of sleep that you need is. It does vary from person to person. 8 hours is the recommendation. Maybe you can get away with 6 hours. Maybe you need 9. But you can't overstate how important sleep and then recovery is. So within your resistance training, you want to make sure that you're building in recovery days. For me, I've got the weekend off, and then I also stack and organize my weights, my weightlifting routine, so that I'm not hitting the same muscle group back to back. So calorie deficit, progressive overload, resistance training, recovery, and sleep. Within the calorie deficit, I mentioned macronutrients. Protein's very important. So your overall nutrition, calorie deficit, high protein ratio, progressive overload, resistance training, sleep, and recovery. All right, last one. Yeah, that felt like a better weight. 10 reps felt good. I could maybe even do more, but that felt like a little bit more of a stimulus. 10. Next we have curls. So I gave those 3 pillars of how to lose body fat, gain muscle, or maintain muscle. It is simple. It is not complicated. Executing it is not necessarily easy though, right? Let me put this on tracking real quick. So, yes, it's simple to say, be in a calorie deficit. Aim for whatever the protein goal is. Maybe it's a gram of protein per pound of body weight, or maybe it's 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, or whatever. There's different ranges, right? It's easy to say that. Executing it is not complicated, but it is not easy. If it was, everyone would be doing it, right? Same thing with weight training. It doesn't have to be complicated. Pick a workout. I like push-pull legs. Make sure you're progressively overloading, which all that means is that you're doing more reps or more weight each week. It doesn't have to be complicated. I've known people who are power lifters and they literally just add weight every week. They keep the reps the same, and even if it's just adding these little micro plates, they just add weights. The system that I use is, I think, not quite as simple as that, but it's not super complicated. You're not calculating how many pounds of weight you're lifting times the amount of reps to get the total tonnage. All you're looking for is how many hard sets are you doing. So, you want to be doing somewhere between 5 to 20 hard sets per body muscle group or whatever. What that means is a hard set is just going close to failure, right? You want to get to failure or within 3 reps of failure. So I like to do my compound lifts, bench, squat, and deadlift. Those are your biggest bang for your buck, by the way, when it comes to lifting weights, because they involve so many muscle groups and they involve your big muscle groups. You get a lot of, I don't know another way to say it, bang for your buck. Those are make sure you're doing those and then doing other auxiliary stuff is great as well. But for the compound lifts, I like to do the 4 to 6 rep range, which is traditionally more of a powerlifting or a strength building range. Hypertrophy, muscle growth, is usually, people say, like in that 8 to 12 range. I like to do that for my single muscle group work lifts, like what we're doing today. I just did rows. I'm doing biceps. I'm going to do triceps. I like that 8 to 12 range for those. It's a little bit lighter weight. It's just easier to control, less risk of injury. And that hypertrophy range that 8 to 12 range is proven for hypertrophy. Hypertrophy will still happen at lower rep ranges and higher rep ranges as long as you are hitting hard sets, as long as you're getting a good range of motion and you are going close to failure and you're progressively overloading. So I like the 4 to 6 rep range for compound lifts because it feels good to lift a really heavy weight. It just does. And it takes a little less time, right? So we're not talking like it shaves 30 minutes, but like maybe it shaves like over the course of a week, it might be like 10 minutes that week. Could be just a couple minutes of workout or whatever. But when I'm trying to get my workout done in less than an hour, that certainly helps. Of course, talking to the camera for longer than my 2-minute rest does not help, but the 4 to 6 rep range does. All right, we've got easy bar curls. This is not 4 to 6 reps. This is 8 to 12. Let's go. Ah, 10 felt good. All right. Pop that in. I'll get a little hydration. This is my famous creatine protein coffee. I might start manufacturing this stuff because it's so good. It's just coffee, about 3 to 5 tablespoons of almond milk, anywhere between 5 and 10 grams of creatine, and 10 grams of protein powder. I like vanilla. Vanilla seems to have the best complement to the coffee. But you could do chocolate. You could do a birthday cake, whatever. You get crazy with it. I just do that for my first cup of coffee for the day. Now, more than anything, just because it's a habit, it's what I'm used to. But originally I did it because I wanted to hit my creatine in a consistent way. I wanted to make sure I built a habit, so I stacked it on to another habit, which is drinking coffee. And I also wanted to then add a little bit of protein powder just to kickstart the protein powder, make sure I get just a little bit of protein at the very start of the day. But what I found was the coffee was like too hot, and so the protein powder and the creatine would not mix super well. So I started adding the almond milk just to cool. It's literally just to cool the coffee down, and it just allows the powders to mix in a little bit better. But now I'm hooked on it. So that's my first cup of coffee, and then as I'm drinking it and it gets like a little too cold, I will just add more black coffee into it. And like probably by about 10 a.m., it's just straight black coffee. And I've drank, I don't know, that little coffee mug cup, I've probably drank, 3 of those. I have looked into my caffeine consumption to see if it's like within a healthy range or if it's too much. TLDR, there's a lot of conflicting research out there. And I'm not like drinking multiple pots of coffee a day. So for me, it seems to work. There's also conflicting research out there about the consumption of caffeine and creatine at the same time. You could literally look up a YouTube video right now where someone will say, stop drinking your coffee with creatine. They're canceling each other out, or the creatine's not going to work because of the caffeine, or blah, 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 blah. There are also, if you look into the studies, it's talking about like the acute effects. And I'm like, I don't consume creatine for the acute effects. I consume creatine knowing that it builds up in my muscles in different, I don't know all the biomechanical ways, but that it's not, oh, the creatine today is, I can immediately feel it. If you've ever started taking creatine, it takes a while for it to build up, right? It can take a week or a month or whatever to build up that dosage. And I think of creatine as being more of an acute actor, and I think of caffeine being more like an acute actor, and I think of creatine being more like a longer term agent for enhancing output and endurance in weightlifting. So I would love for someone like Lane Norton to look at that study and see if I'm completely wrong. I think that's what I've seen. Is I haven't really seen someone who is really into fitness science and nutrition science actually look at these studies to see what they think about it. I don't know, I'll go look on YouTube today. Maybe someone has put something out more recently that's a little bit more comprehensive. All I would just say is, just because there's one study doesn't mean that something is true or false. I think the gold standard is the human randomized trials, right? If that is the study and there's enough of a population and there's enough evidence to convince us something and other people have reproduced it, then that's a pretty good sign. But yeah, take everything that you read and listen to with a grain of salt, me included. Here I'm telling you, I'm drinking caffeine and coffee, or I'm drinking coffee and mixing in creatine, and it's fine. I could be totally wrong. Anecdotally, it doesn't seem to have, I seem to be getting the effects of both. All right. Come back to me. Come on, how did you lose me just after that? All right. Call it 10. I'm going to turn off this active tracking because it's not working anyway. All right. One more set of these, and then we've got skull crushers. And I'm actually going to do skull crushers on an incline. And normally I do that facing this way. I'm going to see if I can set up the bench to go this way. So because you're just not going to see anything if I have the bench set up away from you on an incline. But I've rambled a lot today. We've talked a little bit about the simplicity of body recomposing or getting fit, the 3 pillars of your nutrition, how many calories you're taking in, how much protein you're taking in, resistance training with progressive overload, and sleep and recovery. Talked about my famous protein creatine coffee and the conflicting opinions on consuming creatine and caffeine at the same time. Let's talk about my personal nutrition. I'm going out to eat tonight. It's a Mexican restaurant, and I've been talking about this throughout the week. How am I going to make sure I hit my calorie goals for the week? My goal is to have a weekly average calorie intake of 1,800 to 1,900 calories. Last week was Thanksgiving. I had pretty good Monday through Wednesday. Thursday was Thanksgiving. It was a high calorie day. That's totally okay. I am very okay with not hitting 1,800 calories every day. And the way that I accommodate that is by eating less calories on some days and more calories on other days. We look at the average for a week. Our bodies change so much from day to day with random things. It's the same with measuring your weight. If you lose 5 pounds between yesterday and today, it is a very low chance that was actually 5 pounds of fat loss. It just doesn't happen. It's more likely that it's water weight. Our bodies have a crazy ability to take on a lot of body weight between a sleep cycle and then lose that same amount of body weight or more the next day. So we look at weekly averages to negate the variance from day to day. So the way that I make that work for my calories is if I'm shooting for 1,800 to 1,900 calories on average for the week, I set my target for like most of my weekdays to be 1,600. And that is there's two reasons. Number one is for that weekly average thing that we talked. If I can hit 1,600 for most of those days, that gives me leeway to eat like 2,600 calories like I did on Thanksgiving for a day or two. Also, shooting for less than 1,800, shooting for less than my goal, also means I'm more likely to stay under 1,800. Like, I'm not going to go probably much over 1,800. A lot of the days, maybe I go like over 1,600 by 50 calories, 100 calories. If I go over it by 200 calories, I'm still only at 1,800. That's fine. My goal is 1,800, then 1,900 for the week. It just means if I have more days at 17 and 1,800, have a day at 1,900, that means that if the quote low calorie days are slightly higher than normal, if they're not quite at 1,600, if they're at 1,700, 1,800, 1,900, that means I don't have as much room to have a higher calorie day or high. So it's all about just keeping your average in check. And I check throughout the week, okay, I'm right here. If I have this much calories on my high calorie day, what's my average will be? Okay, I can't do that much. If I do this much calories, how much? This many calories, what will my average be? So more on that soon. Let's hit these curls. All right, 10. Let's put this weight down, get out our bench. How do I want to do this? This way, I think. Maybe I can do this. All right. Imagine that'll work. You guys gonna be able to see that? Let's maybe go up just a smidge, huh? All right. So these are about to do skull crushers. If you're familiar with skull crushers, usually you're laying down, and the idea is that you're folding your arms, you're just bending them so that you're working your triceps. A lot of times I do it on a flat bench. I like to get a variation every now and again on the incline bench because it changes where gravity is, right? So if you think about a barbell or any kind of weight that you have, obviously what angle you're at will change where gravity, where the resistance is coming from. So I like to change it up and use the incline every now and again so that I get a little bit more going, just a little change. I really like a pulley system for tricep stuff a lot of times because you get that more consistent resistance. But my pulley system it's a little bit limited. I don't have the height and I don't have like adjustable angles and stuff like that. So we work with what we've got. So let's hit this and then we'll continue our talk about hitting calories for the week and fitting in higher calorie days and stuff. Because believe it or not, I am not done talking about it. I didn't say everything I wanted to say. I actually need to be up higher so I can go back farther. There we go. All right, we got 12. We will add some weight. What I was saying about my average calories over the week, where I was going with that was I've been planning on Friday today being higher calorie because we're going out to Mexican restaurant. Obviously higher calories, chips, lots of high sodium food, margaritas. So originally I was thinking I might have to cut back, like not eat a full portion of chicken and rice or arroz con pollo, but in the fall and in the winter, I actually really love getting soup at a Mexican restaurant. If you've never tried a soup at a Mexican restaurant, I highly recommend it. So I will get the caldo de pollo, which is a lower calorie soup. It has some rice in it. It's pico de gallo, usually some veggies, shredded chicken. But it's not like a tortilla soup usually has, like bits of chips in it or beans, other stuff that kind of makes it a little bit more high calorie. But caldo de pollo is so yummy. And I think it's going to be less than 600 calories for the whole bowl. That's probably like 24 ounces. So that is actually going to allow me to have a pretty normal day today. And it's not going to be super high calories. What that means is I can probably either have a little bit more calories over the weekend or I can have a few more chips today than I would have. Because I was thinking, oh man, I'm only going to be able to have half a bag of chips, half a serving of arroz con pollo. But two things, I've hit pretty much 16 or 1700 calories every other day this week. The soup is going to help me stay a little bit lower calorie, which is chef's kiss. And so that together means I could come out this week averaging like 1700 calories, which is actually probably a little lower than what I want. I might add a little bit more protein earlier in the day today, some egg whites, maybe some shredded chicken, just to make sure since tonight will be some chips and some high sodium, high carb stuff, I want to make sure I'm packing in protein earlier in the day. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. I was so excited when I remembered the soup because it's going to allow me to eat a full meal, have decent amount of protein and decent calories. All right. So we're going up. dropping weight on the skull crushers. Yeah, that weight is feeling good. That was just 10 reps. So we'll do that one more time. After this will be our last easy bar exercise, and then we will move on to our core workout for the day is the McGill 3. If you're not familiar with Dr. McGill, highly recommend looking him up. I found out about him through Squat University, and specifically these McGill 3 exercises. And they're built around the idea of trying to increase your isometric hold in your abs and your core, increase your capacity for that, because that's what you use your core for in weightlifting. So if you think about when you're squatting, when you squat, what's the first thing you do? You take in a deep breath and you brace your core. If you have a weightlifting belt on, you're trying to fill up the room between the belt and you and maintain that bracing as you go down. And the analogy that Dr. Aaron Horschig from Squat University uses is a soda can. When it's empty, if you put a little bit of weight on it, it just crushes. But when that soda can is full and air's not able to escape it, it has a greater capacity to take on load. So if you can increase the amount of internal pressure and isometric hold that you can do, then the better your lifts will get. And so we do that with a few different lifts. One is just like a static head raise. The next is side planks. And then the final one is bird dogs, which is a really interesting your leg goes back, your arm goes forward. So you'll see it in a sec. It's probably not super exciting to watch, but one of the most impactful things I think you can do to increase your capacity for your weightlifting, especially your squats, your deadlifts. All right, one more of these. All right, that's it for the easy bar lifts. Let me tear this down, get ready for our McGill 3, and I'll come back. Hello there. We're back. We're about to hit the McGill 3. First exercise is a modified curl up. So I just have my knee raised and I keep my hands underneath my back just to make sure I'm not rolling my back. I want to keep just enough space in there. And then we just lift our head slightly. We take a breath in, tense our core, and we do try to, you don't hold your breath necessarily the whole time. You are trying to practice breathing with a tensed core. And we'll do 3 sets, and we'll do a pyramid of the reps. We'll start with 10, 5, and 1. or maybe, we'll do 5, 3, 1. We'll shoot for 8 to 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is where that 10 came from. We'll do 5 of them, 3 of them, and 1 of them, and then we'll move on to the next exercise, which is planks, side planks. So here we go. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. We'll rest for just a minute or two. As I've looked at the form and stuff for this, one of the things you don't want to do is crunch all the way up. You don't want your head to be super far off the ground. You're just really just slightly tucking your chin. Just raising your head by tucking your chin just slightly. So you're only going to be a few inches off of the ground. I will grab my phone. It's up there. Maybe between our next set, we can go over. We'll look at our weigh-in for today and our calories from yesterday and talk about our plan for today. We've already mentioned it about the big revelation of the Mexican caldo de pollo soup, but I'll show you how I'm thinking about it, because I still do plan it out for the day. If it's not just like a day at home where I have pretty good control over what's in my fridge and low calorie options, high protein options, if I'm going out to a restaurant, gotta look at that menu beforehand. And why look at the menu beforehand and plan it out? While you're doing that, why not just pop it into your calorie planner so that you know how many calories and protein you have to work with the rest of the day? Just saying. All right. We're going to do 3. 1. 2. 3. All right, just one more of those. And while we're waiting, let's check in. Okay, let's go to the log. Let's start with yesterday. You can see I did go up to almost to 1,800 calories. The reason I did that, I was on track for 1,600 calories, but at the end of the day, I realized I'm not going to have a super duper high calorie day at the Mexican restaurant, so I'll just have a few more calories today. Let's recap. I normally don't have breakfast, but I always have my coffee with the protein powder and almond milk. But a little bit, probably an hour after my workout or whatever, I feel hungry, so I had some of this protein almond chocolate cereal with a little bit of almond milk. So that helped me get a good protein to calorie ratio for breakfast. For lunch, I had a protein queso burrito. I had a bowl of cottage cheese with grapes, and that salsa was not in the cottage cheese, it was on the burrito. But man, if you are looking for like a I don't know, a great snack or something that's like a little bit savory but also sweet and high calorie, get some low fat cottage cheese and dump some fruit into it. Oh, it's so good. I particularly love grapes and oranges. They seem to be the biggest like contrast and also a complement to the cottage cheese texture and flavor. In my opinion, some people might be grossed out by that. For dinner, I had a chicken stir fry with veggies in it and then a little bit of rice. I added that 7 grams of rice because I added 125 earlier in the day as an estimate. And then I ended up going over that and I didn't want to scoop the rice back out. Snacks. I did have the caramel rice snacks as like a late afternoon snack. The protein yogurt, I believe I ate after dinner for some protein. And it was at that point I realized I was right at about 1600, but I realized I could have more. Or maybe it was before that, maybe right at dinner. And then I realized I could have more, so I had the protein yogurt for more calories and more protein. And then I felt like indulging in some dark sea salt chocolate. I haven't had real chocolate in quite a while. And knowing that I had some calories to spare, I thought I'll do it. I made my shredded chicken for today last night and in the Instant Pot. And I love to just get a mug of that broth and just drink it like a coffee at the end of the day. So sue me. But obviously it's going to be, I don't know if this is just some chicken stock from some grocery store. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I wanted to track it. So we didn't hit our 180 gram protein goal, but we got close to, we're almost within 20 grams. So for today, this is what I planned yesterday as I was planning out my day. And you can see I'm estimated to be under, so I can add to this. We've had the morning coffee, so I'll enter that. I'm planning on lunch trying to load up on protein. That's what these egg whites and the shredded chicken are. And then probably some salsa with the eggs and then a protein bar. For dinner, I'm planning on that caldo de pollo soup. You can see just under 600 grams of protein with a decent amount of protein. Not quite 10 grams of protein to 100 calories, but close. For a restaurant, pretty good. I will definitely eat some salsa. I probably won't eat a whole thing. 1 cup's fine. Chips, 56 grams is probably a conservative estimate. That's probably where I'll easily gain another 100 calories. These are just the Chipotle chips as the estimate. I wonder what is can't remember. 1 serving is 570 calories. Yeah, 1 serving is more like, what is 56 times 2, isn't it? 112. Yeah, so we're talking a lot more like that's 1 bag of chips is what they're estimating. They're just saying that's probably close to 110 or 100, 120, 115, something like that. That's what they're saying is going to be 1 serving of chips, which might be more accurate to say that. I'm not going to enter that because sometimes editing an entry has trouble integrating into my Apple Health. So if I want to change something, I've realized the easiest way is to delete it and then re-add it. And that's just because of this app and Apple Health not getting along all the way. And then I definitely will have some cheese dip. Even with all this, that's only 1,000 calories. Definitely will have some gum to help get that feeling of something sweet. So the way that this will change is I'll probably add some chips, and it'll be lower protein to calorie ratio than we want, but our calories will be well under 2,500 calories for sure. So I think probably if we get to 2,000, that would be fine. So that's the plan for today. Looking at the weigh-in from this morning, it's actually this is the target for the week is 194.2, but you can see the average that's including Saturday and Sunday. The average is 194.6. So that's another reason why I'm glad that I don't have to have super high amount of calories tonight. because I was worried I was going to spike a bunch. And that is an argument for not having too many chips, because sodium is a good way to spike your body weight. But it's just water weight, so I don't know. Maybe I don't care. Maybe the chips are worth it. But anyway, we would love to be at 194.2 for the week. That would mean that Saturday and Sunday would both have to be like 194.2 or less to have the average come down to that. So we'll see. I feel like we're on track. We're coming from certainly higher calorie days last Thursday and Friday, which increased. So we started out Monday probably more elevated, more water weight than what we should have been. Like, yeah, if you exclude Monday, we're at 194.1. So all that to say, I'm going to make reasonable choices. I'm going to weigh my goals with enjoying life. I'm going to have the Mexican food. I'm going to eat the chips. I'm going to stay under maintenance calories of 2,900 calories. And I'm going to probably even stay below that. So I think all in all, the compromise between enjoying life and being disciplined for my goals, I think it should all work out. Yeah, we'll check in again. I don't know if I'll check in over the weekend or if we'll wait till Monday. But we do have one more of these modified curl-ups, and then we'll move on. Yeah, and that didn't even really feel like much. That was that 5-3-1. You don't have to do 5-3-1. You can do 5-5-5, 5-3-3, whatever. So maybe since I had a large break, that one didn't feel super tough. So I think I'm going to move straight into planks. It's one. Two. Three. Four. Oh, 5. Other side. Two. Three. Four. Five. Rest a couple minutes. Yeah, that 5 to 6 reps. Killer on these. Kinda killer. Alright, set 2. And 3. Alright, other side. Alright. Rest a little bit and then do one more of those. And then on to bird dogs. Tie my shoe. It's just one rep, so I don't need a ton of rest. In this 5-3-1 pyramid rep scheme, it's really just a starting point. Like, I'm already feeling like I should probably just go ahead and make that last one instead of 1 rep. I should be doing probably at least 3. I'm probably, if I was doing this workout today, if I was doing it pretty consistently every week, I think I'd be doing 5-5-5, because that first one is where I'm really feeling it. So again, just all based off of your particular capacity. So the last workout of the day, called bird dogs, and they're a fun movement. I just need to make sure I've got enough room here. Yeah, it probably looks really great from up there. Nice shot of my butt. But again, the whole idea is you're going to be tensing your core. Guess I could do them sideways. That'd probably be better. Tensing your core, and you're reaching back with like your left foot and then your opposite arm. I like to make a fist to help keeping me tense and reach forward. Almost like a Superman, but not at all. And then you do the other sides. So I don't need a full 2 minutes. Let's go ahead. We'll jump right in. One. Two. Three. Three. Four. Five. Switch sides. One. Two. Three. Four. Five. I'll be honest, I lost count there. I feel like I did 2 over again, And then when I counted 5, I don't know if that was 5 or 6. Anyway, that was the first one. You'll notice that in between my individual sets, I'm not going back down to all fours. While maintaining, I'm really just touching my fist to my knee like that, and then going back out. And that's keeping that isometric hold. And that's the other point that I want to make to you is if you're not flexing your core, if you're not tensing, you're not getting the same stimulus. The idea is that you're practicing tensing your core and trying to keep it expanded while breathing through that. So the idea is not that you're breathing and your belly's going in and out. You want to get an inhale, get that core nice and solid and filled, and practice breathing with that core in that isometric hold, in that expanded capacity. Yeah, those ones, you can start to feel it on those too. It looks deceptively easy, but yeah, try it out. You'll be surprised how much you feel it in your core, and this one in your shoulders and lats and then your hamstrings. You'll be surprised at how much you feel it. And you'll be like, cable crunch what? Not really. If you want to grow your abs, cable crunch. I did look it up. I said the other day, I don't know, can you grow your abs? Can they grow with hypertrophy the same way other muscles? The short answer is yes. You can grow your abs, but you're not going to see them unless you are in a calorie deficit and you're losing body fat. All right. 3 sets here. 3 reps. We're on set 2. One. 2. 3. Switch sides. 1. 2. 3. All right, we'll rest a few seconds and we'll do our last set. Thanks for following along. This workout ended up being much longer than it normally is. I think I just talked a lot. Either you're welcome or I'm sorry for that. But normally this is like a less than 50 minutes. This is like a 45-minute workout if you get going, if you don't mess around. And some of these, I usually like to rest 2 minutes in between sets. But some of this workout, you can probably get away with a little less than that too. So again, it's nice for a Friday where you want to try and get the workout in, but you don't have a full hour. Yeah. All right, one more and then we'll be done. One. And 1. That's it. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.